What if I told you the greatest battle you will ever fight is against an enemy you created? An enemy that lives inside your head, uses your voice, and knows every one of your weaknesses. That internal voice, the inner critic, has cost you opportunities, relationships, and peace of mind. Most men try to fight it. They argue with it. They try to drown it out with noise and distraction. And they fail, every single time, because they don't understand the rules of the game. Today, we are not just talking about silencing that voice. We are giving you the kill switch, a single, decisive mental command that the ancient Stoics understood not as a battle, but as an act of supreme authority. A command I call the Stoic Veto. This is a concept understood by a select few. It is the silent operating system of the world's most resilient men. It is the power to dismiss negativity, not with anger, but with indifference. To let corrosive thoughts die before they can take root. The information in this video is the dividing line between being controlled by your mind and being the commander of it. So, let's begin. Let me know in the comments, what is the one negative thought your inner critic repeats most often? Acknowledging it is the first step to vetoing it. Let's be clear. The modern world is a battlefield for your attention and your self-worth. Every notification, every advertisement, every curated image on social media is a subtle message designed to make you feel you are not enough, not rich enough, not fit enough, not successful enough. This constant low-level psychological warfare is the fertile ground where the inner critic thrives. It takes this external noise and internalizes it, building the case against you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The common advice you hear is fundamentally flawed. Just be positive. Challenge your negative thoughts. This is like trying to win a debate with a recording. The critic does not operate on logic. It operates on emotional habit. Arguing with it gives it energy. Engaging with it gives it legitimacy. It validates the premise that its claims are worthy of a response. This is the trap 99% of men fall into. They treat a saboteur as a counselor. The Stoics had a radically different approach. They saw the mind not as a single entity, but as a hierarchy. At the top is the ruling faculty, your rational mind, your consciousness. Everything else, including automatic thoughts and emotional reactions, is subordinate. They are proposals, not proclamations. The Stoic veto is the modern application of this ancient insight. It is the tool that reasserts your position as the rightful ruler of your inner world. On deconstructing the enemy. Before you can defeat an opponent, you must understand it. Your inner critic is not an evil entity. It is not you. It is a primitive, miscalibrated survival mechanism. Its original job was to keep you safe within the tribe by warning you of social rejection or physical danger. Don't speak up, you'll be cast out. Don't take that risk, you might fail. In the ancient world, this was a feature. In the modern world, it has become a bug. It's a faulty alarm system, blaring at full volume when there is no fire. Understanding this is the first step to detachment. It's not a demon to be exorcised, it's a machine to be recalibrated, and you are the engineer. 2. The illusion of authority. Why does this voice feel so powerful? Because it uses your own tone. It has access to your deepest memories and insecurities. It speaks with the authority of I. I am not good enough. I will fail. This is its greatest deception. The Stoics called these initial, unexamined thoughts impressions, or phantasiae. They are like knocks at the door of your mind. They are not yet inside the house. You have been conditioned to fling the door open for every knock without checking who is there. The veto is learning to look through the peephole first to recognize the visitor for what it is, an unsolicited, unqualified opinion, and to keep the door firmly shut. Its authority is not inherent. It is granted by you, and what is granted can be revoked. 3. The tyranny of internal dialogue. Most men live inside a constant running monologue of self-criticism. This internal chatter drains mental energy, clouds judgment, and paralyzes action. It is the background radiation of a life lived in quiet desperation. You become so used to the noise that you mistake it for the signal. You think this state of internal conflict is normal. It is not. It is a state of psychological sickness. The man of clarity and power cultivates inner silence, not an empty silence, but a focused, purposeful stillness, a mind that is a tool, not a tormentor. The veto is the practice that carves out this silence, one dismissed thought at a time. It is the reclamation of your mental bandwidth for things that actually matter. 4. The paradox of mental control. Here is a truth that very few understand. The harder you try to not think about something, the more you will think about it. Try it now. For the next 10 seconds, do not think about a white bear. What happened? You immediately pictured a white bear. This is what psychologists call the ironic process theory. When you tell yourself, I must not be anxious, or I must stop thinking I'm a failure, you are reinforcing the very neural pathways you want to weaken. You are wrestling with the thought, making it stronger. The Stoic approach bypasses this trap entirely. It does not engage, it does not fight, it simply observes the thought, labels it as unproductive, and withdraws assent. It lets the white bear walk by without serving it tea. 5. The foundational principle, the dichotomy of control. This is the bedrock of all Stoic practice, and it is the source of the veto's power. It is a simple yet profound distinction. Some things are up to us, and some things are not. That an anxious or critical thought pops into your head is not up to you. It is an automatic product of brain chemistry, conditioning, and external triggers. It is like the weather. It simply happens. What is up to you, and only you, is the judgment you attach to that thought, the meaning you give it, the choice to believe it. Your inner critic can scream all it wants, but it is powerless until you hand over the microphone by agreeing with it. The veto is the act of recognizing this boundary. The thought is external. Your response is internal. Focus only on what is yours to command. 6. The gatekeeper. The power of assent. The Stoics had a specific term for the moment of decision, sunkatathesis, or assent. Imagine your mind as a kingdom. Impressions and thoughts are messengers arriving at the gates, delivering news. The presentation will be a disaster. She thinks you're a fool. As the king, you have the ultimate authority to decide which messages are true and which are false intelligence. To assent is to stamp the message approved and allow it to enter the kingdom, where it will influence your emotions and actions. To withhold assent is to stamp it denied and turn the messenger away. For years you have been letting every messenger, no matter how ragged or unreliable, run rampant in your court. The veto is you, the king, finally taking your seat on the throne and guarding the gate. 7. What the veto is not. Let's clarify this because the untrained mind will misunderstand. The veto is not suppression. Suppression is pushing a thought down, trying to bury it. This creates internal pressure that will eventually explode. The veto is not distraction. Distraction is running away from the thought, which only proves you are afraid of it. The veto is not positive thinking. Positive thinking is trying to paint over a rotten wall. The decay is still there underneath. The veto is a calm, rational, decisive act of dismissal. It is a judgment of irrelevance. It is looking at the thought and saying, "This does not serve my purpose. This is not worthy of my time. This is not me." It is an act of power, not of fear. 8. The metaphor of the sovereign. Think of yourself as the sovereign ruler of your own mind. Your inner critic is like a disgraced court advisor, constantly whispering poison in your ear, trying to foment a rebellion. For a long time, you have mistaken this advisor's voice for your own intuition. You've allowed his paranoid counsel to dictate your foreign policy, your domestic affairs, your entire strategy for life. The Stoic veto is the moment the sovereign ruler finally stands up and says, "Silence. Your counsel is no longer required. You are dismissed from my court. It's not a negotiation. It's not a debate. It is a final, irrevocable decree from the highest authority, from you. 9. The first step of forging. Detection. You cannot veto a thought you are not aware of. The first phase of this training is developing the skill of mindful awareness. This means creating a separation between the observer, your conscious self, and the observed, your stream of thoughts. Throughout your day, practice catching the inner critic in the act. When a negative thought arises, don't just feel the emotion it creates. Stop. Mentally take a step back and label it. Ah, there is the thought that I am not prepared. There is the fear of being judged. This act of labeling separates you from the thought. It changes I am a failure to I am having the thought that I am a failure. This small shift in language is a massive shift in power. 10. The voice of the critic. Learning its signature. Your critic has favourite phrases. It has a specific tone. It often uses absolute words like always, never, everyone, and no one. You always mess things up. Everyone will think you are an idiot. Pay attention to this signature. Become a detective of your own mind. When you hear that absolutist, catastrophic, and generalized language, you know it's not your rational mind speaking. It's the critic. Recognizing the voice is half the battle, because it immediately flags the thought as suspect. It's like seeing an email from a known scammer. You don't even need to read the content to know you should delete it. 11. The second step, deconstruction. Once you've detected the thought, you perform a quick, ruthless analysis. This shouldn't take more than a second or two. Ask yourself 3 questions. 1. Is this thought productive? Does it lead to a constructive solution, or just a rumination and self-pity? 2. Is this within my control? Is the thought about something I can change right now, or is it about the past, the future, or other people's opinions? 3. Is this objectively true, or is it a story, a catastrophic exaggeration? 99% of the critic's output will fail this simple 3-question test. It is unproductive, out of your control, and false. This is the evidence you present to the judge, yourself, before issuing the veto. 12. The power of framing. How you frame the critic's input is crucial. Do not see it as a reflection of reality. See it as data, flawed, biased, and often corrupt data, but data nonetheless. A thought like, you are going to fail this presentation, can be reframed. The raw data is, I am feeling a physiological response of anxiety about a future event. The critic's interpretation is, this feeling means I will fail. A Stoic interpretation is, my body is preparing me for a high-stakes performance. The energy is there. Now how can I channel it? By reframing the input, you strip the critic of its power to define your reality. You become the interpreter of the data, not its victim. 13. The third step, the command. This is the core of the practice. After detecting and deconstructing the thought, you issue the command. The word itself can be whatever resonates with you, but it must be decisive. Veto. Dismissed. Irrelevant. Void. Cancel. Stop. Say it in your mind with authority. Don't whisper it. Don't suggest it. Command it. Imagine a Roman emperor turning his thumb down. Imagine a judge banging a gavel. This is a full stop. It is the end of the mental conversation. There is no follow-up, no argument. The case is closed. The thought has been denied entry. You then immediately redirect your focus to the task at hand or your physical surroundings. 14. Finding your power word. The word veto is powerful because it literally means I forbid in Latin. It is an assertion of prohibitive power, but you may find another word that has more personal resonance. For some, it might be a simple sharp no. For others, it might be next. As if you are simply skipping an unwanted song on a playlist, The key is that the word must signify finality. It must be an endpoint, not a pause in the debate. Experiment. Find the word that makes you feel most in command. This word will become your shield and your sword in the landscape of your mind. 15. The physiology of the veto. To anchor the mental command, pair it with a subtle physical action. This creates a powerful mind-body connection that deepens the practice. As you mentally say, veto, you could take a slow, deliberate breath out, lightly tap 2 fingers together, press your tongue to the roof of your mouth, clench your fist for a second, then release it. This physical anchor acts as a circuit breaker. It interrupts the neurological loop of the negative thought and grounds you in the present moment. Over time, the physical action itself will begin to trigger the mental state of dismissal, making the process faster and more automatic. 16. Training the veto muscle. This is a skill, not a magic trick. You will not be perfect on day 1. Your mind has been running the old software for decades. You are now installing a new operating system. It requires practice. Start small. Practice vetoing minor, insignificant critical thoughts. My hair looks weird today. Veto. I used the wrong word in that email. Veto. Each successful veto is a single rep that strengthens the muscle of your executive control. Don't get discouraged if you miss one and spiral for a bit. Just notice it and re-engage at the next opportunity. Consistency is more important than intensity. 100 small vetoes a day is how you build an impenetrable mind. 17. The aftermath of the veto. The void. The first few times you successfully veto a powerful negative thought, you might feel a strange sensation, a moment of silence, a void. This is the mental space that used to be occupied by anxiety and rumination. The untrained mind finds this void uncomfortable and will try to rush to fill it with another thought, any thought. Resist this urge. Learn to sit in that silence. That silence is not emptiness, it is potential. It is clarity. It is peace. This is the ground from which rational, purposeful action grows. It is the goal. Cherish it. 18. Advanced application, vetoing. Fear of failure. The fear of failure is one of the critic's most powerful weapons. It paralyzes you from taking necessary risks. The critic will present a vivid movie of everything that could go wrong. If you start this business, you'll lose all your money and everyone will laugh at you. Use the veto process. Detect. This is the fear of failure narrative. Deconstruct. Is this prediction productive? No. Is it in my control? The outcome is not. But my effort is. Is it true? It is a possibility, not a certainty. Command. Veto. Then replace the vetoed thought with a stoic alternative. I will prepare to the best of my ability. I will act with courage, and I will accept whatever outcome occurs, as it is ultimately beyond my complete control. 19. Advanced application, vetoing social anxiety. Social anxiety is the inner critic going public. It's the fear of other people's inner critics being turned on you. They think I'm boring. I don't know what to say. I look awkward. This is all speculative fiction. You cannot know what others are thinking. The Stoic realizes that the opinions of others are not in their control. Therefore, they are not worthy of distress. Detect. This is the social judgment story. Deconstruct. Productive? No. In my control? No. True? I have no idea. Command. Veto. Then shift your focus from your internal state to the external world. Listen intently to the other person. Observe your surroundings. Get out of your head and into the moment. 20. Advanced application, vetoing anger and frustration. Anger is often the result of a violated expectation. That driver should not have cut me off. My colleagues should have done their work properly. The critic seizes on this should and fuels the fire of indignation. The Stoic veto interrupts this process. Detect. This is the righteous anger script. Deconstruct. Is this anger productive? Will it solve the problem? No. Is the other person's behavior in my control? Absolutely not. Command. Veto. This doesn't mean you become a doormat. It means you choose a rational response over a reactive one. You address the situation from a place of calm, collected power, not from a hijacked, emotional state. 21. The veto and premeditatio malorum. The Stoic practice of premeditation of evils is a powerful tool, but it can be misused by the critic. The practice is meant to build resilience by calmly contemplating potential negative outcomes. The critic, however, will hijack it to create anxiety by presenting worst-case scenarios as certainties. The key is to use the veto during the practice. Contemplate a negative outcome. I might lose my job. The critic chimes in, and then you'll be homeless and a complete failure. Veto that catastrophic add-on. Stick to the facts. If I lose my job, I will have to update my resume, contact my network, and budget carefully. One is a rational contingency plan. The other is a horror story. Veto the horror story. 22. The enemy of the veto. Fatigue. Your willpower and executive function are finite resources. They are like a muscle that gets tired. You will find it is much harder to execute the veto when you are tired, hungry, or stressed. This is when the critic is strongest. It attacks when your defenses are down. This is not a moral failing. It is a biological reality. The strategic man understands this. He prioritizes sleep, proper nutrition, and physical exercise because he knows these are not luxuries. They are logistical necessities for maintaining mental sovereignty. A well-rested mind is a fortress. A fatigued mind is an open city. 23. The compounding interest of clarity. Every time you successfully execute a veto, you make a small deposit into your account of mental clarity. At first, the returns are small, but over time, they compound. Each dismissed thought weakens the neural pathway of the critic and strengthens the pathway of your rational mind. After 1,000 vetoes, you will notice a change. The critic's voice will be quieter, less frequent. After 10,000, it will be a faint whisper you barely notice. This is not about winning a single battle. It is about winning the war through a consistent campaign of small, decisive victories. 24. From veto to virtue. The ultimate goal of Stoicism is not just to feel better, but to be better. It is to live a life of virtue, courage, justice, temperance, and wisdom. Silencing the inner critic is not the end goal in itself. It is the necessary ground clearing to make space for virtuous action. You cannot act with courage when you are paralyzed by a critic telling you that you will fail. You cannot act with justice when you are blinded by anger. The veto removes the static, allowing the clear signal of your rational, virtuous mind to guide your actions. It creates the inner peace necessary for outer excellence. 25. The Stoics' indifference. As you master the veto, something remarkable happens. You begin to cultivate what the Stoics called apatheia. This is not apathy, which is a lack of caring. It is a state of tranquility, of being undisturbed by the things you cannot control. The critic's voice might still occasionally appear, but it no longer has any emotional charge. It's like hearing a car alarm in the distance. You notice it, but it doesn't disrupt your peace. It is just noise. This is the state of the superior man. He is not a man without negative thoughts. He is a man who is not disturbed by them. 26. A common pitfall. The second arrow. The Buddha used a powerful metaphor. When you are struck by an arrow, it is painful. This is the first arrow, the inevitable pain of life, like a negative event or a critical thought. The second arrow is the one we shoot into ourselves. It is our reaction. The thought appears, I made a mistake. That's the first arrow. Then the critic fires the second. I'm such an idiot for making that mistake. I always do this. This second arrow is the self-inflicted wound of judgment and rumination. The veto is the act of refusing to fire the second arrow. You acknowledge the first arrow, the mistake, and then you get back to work. 27. The role of journaling. To sharpen your veto, you must know what you are fighting. A daily journaling practice is the intelligence-gathering phase of your campaign. Each evening, write down the critical thoughts you remember from the day. Write down what triggered them. Then practice deconstructing and vetoing them on paper. This analytical process, done in a calm state, trains your mind to perform the same process in real time. You are essentially running drills. You are preparing your mind for the battlefield of the next day. A man who does not review his own thoughts is doomed to be ruled by them. 28. The veto and your environment. Your inner critic is fed by your external environment. If you consume endless streams of outrage-inducing news, comparison-driven social media, and cynical content, you are giving your critic an all-you-can-eat buffet. A man who is serious about mental sovereignty is ruthless in curating his inputs. He unfollows accounts that trigger envy. He limits his exposure to negativity. He chooses to read books and listen to content that strengthens his mind, not weakens it. This is not about creating a bubble. It is about choosing your own diet. You wouldn't eat poison. Do not feed it to your mind. 29. Explaining this to others. Do not. This is an internal practice. It is for you. Attempting to explain the Stoic Veto to someone who is not ready to hear it will only result in misunderstanding or ridicule. They will call you detached or unfeeling. Let them. Your results will be your explanation. Your calm in a crisis, your focus under pressure, your resilience in the face of setbacks, these will be the evidence of your practice. Lead by example, not by lecture. The men who are ready for this knowledge will seek you out. They will ask you how you remain so unshakable. Then you can share. 30. The critic's last stand. The metacritic. As you get better at this, the critic will evolve. It will try a new tactic. It will start criticizing your use of the veto. You're not doing it right. You missed one. You're a failure at stoicism too. You're just suppressing your feelings. Recognize this for what it is. A desperate gambit. The critic is trying to use the master's tools to dismantle the master's house. The solution is simple. You apply the veto to the metacritic itself. Detect the thought, I'm bad at this. Deconstruct it and veto it. The veto is a universal solvent for all forms of unproductive, internal negativity. 31. The physical manifestation of the critic. Notice how your body feels when the critic is active. A tightness in the chest, a knot in the stomach, shallow breathing. These are physical signatures. The veto process, especially when paired with a physical anchor like a deep breath, directly counteracts this. As you exhale and issue the veto, consciously release the tension in your shoulders, your jaw, your hands. Reclaiming your mind also means reclaiming your body from the state of chronic, low-level stress that the critic induces. A calm mind resides in a calm body. 32. Vetoing imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is the inner critic in professional attire. It is the persistent fear that you will be exposed as a fraud, that you don't deserve your success. This is especially common among high achievers. The critic whispers, "You just got lucky. You don't belong here." This is a prime target for the veto. Detect. This is the imposter narrative. Deconstruct. My achievements are documented facts. This feeling is not a fact. Command. Veto. Then redirect your focus to the work itself. Competence is the ultimate antidote to the feeling of incompetence. 33. The speed of the veto. In the beginning, the process of detect deconstruct command will feel slow and clumsy. That is normal. You are building a new mental habit. With consistent practice, the process will accelerate. It will become a single fluid motion. A negative thought will arise and be dismissed in less than a second. It will become an automatic reflex, like pulling your hand away from a hot stove. The goal is to reach a state of unconscious competence, where your mind guards its own gates without your constant conscious effort. 34. The veto and relationships. The inner critic doesn't just poison your relationship with yourself, it poisons your relationships with others. It makes you needy, seeking constant validation. It makes you defensive, interpreting neutral comments as attacks. It makes you jealous, creating stories of betrayal out of thin air. By vetoing this internal noise, you show up to your relationships as a stronger, more stable man. You listen better because you're not distracted by your own insecurities. You trust more because you're not projecting your own fears. Mastering your inner world is the greatest gift you can give to the people in your outer world. 35. The misconception of emotionlessness. Let us address a common myth. The Stoic is not emotionless. He experiences the full range of human feeling. The difference is his relationship to those feelings. When an emotion like anger or fear arises prompted by a thought, he does not identify with it. He sees it as the Stoics did, a proto-passion, an initial, involuntary response. He uses the veto on the thought that fuels the emotion. By cutting off the fuel, the fire of the emotion naturally dies down. He is not a man without fire. He is a man who directs where and when the fire burns. 36. The freedom of non-judgment. The veto is ultimately an act of non-judgment. You are not judging yourself for having the thought. That would just be another layer of criticism. You are simply judging the thought itself as not useful and moving on. This practice cultivates a profound sense of self-acceptance. You accept that your brain will produce garbage thoughts from time to time. It's what brains do. It means nothing about your character or your worth. Your character is defined by which thoughts you choose to act on. The veto is the tool that ensures you only act on the best. 37. The veto versus rumination. Rumination is the act of chewing on a negative thought over and over again. The critic loves rumination. It's like a dog with a bone. It will replay a past mistake or an anxious future scenario endlessly. This is the mental equivalent of spinning your wheels in the mud. It's a lot of activity with no forward motion. The veto is the emergency brake. The moment you catch yourself in a rumination loop, you issue the command. Veto! It breaks the cycle. You might have to do it 10 times in a row. Do it. Each time, you are reclaiming your present moment from the ghosts of the past and the phantoms of the future. 38. Your thoughts are not you. This is the most liberating realization you can have. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness of your thoughts. You are the silent watcher, the one who notices the stream of consciousness flowing by. The critic is just one object in that stream. It's a dark log floating past. For years, you have been jumping into the river and clinging to that log, letting it carry you downstream. The veto is the realization that you are standing on the riverbank. You can simply let the log float by. You do not have to go with it. 39. The power of a controlled morning. The first hour of your day sets the tone for the next 16. If you wake up and immediately check your phone, you're inviting 1,000 critical voices into your mind before your defenses are even up. The man who commands his mind commands his morning. Wake up, hydrate, move your body, spend 5 minutes in silence, observing your thoughts. Practice the veto on any anxious or negative thoughts that arise about the day ahead. Start your day from a position of calm, centered control. Win the morning, win the day. 40. The veto and perfectionism. Perfectionism is the inner critic disguised as a high standard. It tells you that anything less than flawless is a total failure. This leads to procrastination, because the fear of not being perfect is overwhelming. Use the veto on this all-or-nothing thinking. Detect the thought that if this isn't perfect, it's worthless. Deconstruct. Is perfect even achievable? No. Is progress better than inaction? Yes. Command. Veto. Replace it with the commitment to excellence, not perfection. Do your best, then move on. The Stoic values action over idealized, unattainable outcomes. 41. What if a critical thought is true? Sometimes the critic points out a genuine flaw or mistake. You are unprepared for this meeting. The key here is in the deconstruction phase. Is the thought productive? The judgment, you are a lazy slob for being unprepared, is not productive. Veto that. But the observation, you are unprepared, can be. It is data. The Stoic response is not to spiral into self-loathing. It is to take rational action. Okay, I have 10 minutes. What are the 3 most important points I need to review? You use the data without accepting the insult. 42. The long game. Remember, this is a lifelong practice. There is no graduation ceremony where you are declared cured of negative thoughts. The goal is not a mind that is always happy. The goal is a mind that is always resilient, a mind that can handle adversity without breaking, a mind that is a reliable ally, not a treacherous enemy. Some days will be easier than others. On hard days, the practice is even more important. Be patient. Be persistent. You are rebuilding your mind from the foundation up. This is the great work of a man's life. 43. The veto and physical pain. The Stoics were masters of dealing with physical hardship. They applied the same principles. There is the initial sensation of pain, the first arrow. Then there is the mental story you tell about it, the second arrow. This is unbearable. This will never end. This story creates suffering on top of the pain. You can veto the story. Detect the catastrophic narrative about the pain. Deconstruct and command. Veto. Focus only on the raw sensation itself, without the layer of mental judgment. This does not eliminate the pain, but it dramatically reduces the suffering. 44. The role model. Who do you admire? Think of a man, real or fictional, who embodies unshakable calm and control. When your inner critic attacks, ask yourself, how would he respond to this thought? He would not argue with it. He would not believe it. He would likely not even notice it. Or if he did, he would dismiss it with a glance of indifference. By modelling his response, you borrow his strength. You act as if you already have the mastery you seek. This is a powerful way to accelerate your own development. You become the man you emulate. 45. The veto on comparison. Comparison is the critic's favourite pastime. He is more successful than you. His life looks so much better. Social media is a super weapon for this kind of thinking. The Stoic veto is the perfect defense. Detect the comparison thought. Deconstruct. Am I seeing his full reality or a curated highlight reel? Is his path my path? Is this thought helping me improve or just making me feel inadequate? The answer is always the same. Command. Veto. Your race is with one person only, the man you were yesterday. That is the only comparison that matters. 46. The sound of silence. As you continue this practice, actively listen for the silence between thoughts. In those gaps, you will find a profound sense of peace and presence. The goal of the veto is to widen those gaps, to spend more and more of your life in that state of clear, uncluttered awareness. This is what the Stoics called euthymia, or a state of believing in oneself and being in a good state of soul. It is the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you are the master of your own mind. 47. The veto and decision-making. A mind cluttered by the critic's noise cannot make clear, rational decisions. Fear of making the wrong choice, replaying past bad decisions. This all leads to analysis paralysis. The veto clears the table. It dismisses the anxieties and the what-ifs, allowing you to look at the facts of the situation objectively. A Stoic makes the best decision he can with the information available, and then accepts the outcome, whatever it may be. The quality of his life is determined by the quality of his decisions, not the quality of his luck. 48. Creating a veto trigger. To make the habit stick, create an environmental trigger. Place a specific object on your desk, a coin, a stone, a small token. Let this object be a physical reminder of your commitment to the veto. Whenever you see it, It's a cue to check in with your mental state. Are you in a reactive critical loop? Or are you in a state of command? This external trigger helps to build the internal reflex until you no longer need the reminder. 49. The critic feeds on ambiguity. An unstructured life is a playground for the inner critic. When you have no clear goals, no defined purpose, any thought can pull you in any direction. The man with a mission has a natural defense system. When a critical thought arises, he can measure it against his purpose. Does this thought help me achieve my mission? If the answer is no, it is easily vetoed. Clarity of purpose is a powerful repellent for the critic. Know what you are building. It will give you a reason to ignore the voice that wants to tear it all down. 50. The veto and gratitude. A mind focused on what is lacking is the natural habitat of the inner critic. A powerful countermeasure is a deliberate practice of gratitude. This is not about hollow affirmations. It is about a rational appreciation of what you have. At the end of the day, veto the critic's summary of your failures and faults. Instead, take a moment to list 3 things that went well, or 3 things you are genuinely grateful for. This shifts your brain's focus from threat detection to opportunity recognition. It trains your mind to see the good, making it a less hospitable place for the critic. 51. Letting go of outcomes. The critic is obsessed with outcomes because they are uncertain and uncontrollable. It uses this uncertainty to generate fear. The Stoic focuses relentlessly on his inputs, his effort, his attitude, his actions. He does the work to the best of his ability and then lets the chips fall where they may. This is what they called acting with a reserve clause. I will succeed in this venture, fate permitting. By vetoing the obsession with the outcome, you free up all your mental energy to focus on what you can actually control, the process. 52. The humour technique. For some types of critical thoughts, especially the more absurd ones, humour can be a powerful form of veto. When the critic offers a wildly catastrophic prediction, instead of a formal veto, you can laugh at it, exaggerate it to the point of ridiculousness. Oh, so I'm not just going to give a bad presentation, I'm going to cause the building to collapse and start a new ice age. Humour creates distance. It shows the thought for what it is, a silly, powerless little story. 53. The body's intelligence. Your body often knows the critic is active before your conscious mind does. Learn to read its signals. A sudden drop in energy, a feeling of dread, a defensive posture. When you feel these physical shifts, use them as a cue to scan for the underlying thought. What was I just thinking? There it is. The critic was running a background process. By bringing it to the forefront of your awareness, you can then apply the veto. Your body is an early warning system. Learn to listen to it. 54. The veto is an act of self-respect. Every time you allow your inner critic to dominate your mind, you are committing a small act of self-betrayal. You are allowing an irrational, destructive force to dictate your emotional state. Every time you execute the veto, you are affirming your own sovereignty. You are declaring that you are the highest authority in your own life. It is an act of profound self-respect. It is you choosing to be your own ally, not your own worst enemy. This is the foundation of genuine confidence. 55. The ripple effect. The change you make inside your own mind does not stay there. It ripples outward. Your family will feel it in your increased patience. Your colleagues will see it in your steady composure. Your friends will notice your resilience. A man who has mastered his inner world becomes a rock for others. He becomes a source of stability in a chaotic world. By healing yourself, you contribute to healing the world around you. Your personal victory is a victory for everyone you interact with. 56. Sharing the burden the right way. While the veto is a solitary practice, there is a place for sharing. But you must choose your counsel wisely. Do not vent to just anyone. That often reinforces the negativity. Speak to a trusted mentor, a therapist, or a small group of like-minded men. Frame the conversation not as a complaint, but as a strategic problem. I am dealing with this specific pattern of critical thought. Here is how I am applying the veto. Do you have any insights? This is not asking for pity. It is requesting intelligence from a trusted ally. 57. The veto and the ego. The inner critic is often the dark side of the ego. The ego wants to protect its image, so the critic attacks you preemptively to stop you from taking risks that might lead to failure or embarrassment. By vetoing the critic, you are not destroying your ego. You are taming it. You are teaching it that your self-worth is not based on external validation or a perfect track record. It is based on your internal character and your commitment to virtuous action. You are building a more resilient, less fragile sense of self. 58. The ultimate goal, automation. The conscious, deliberate practice of the veto is the training phase. The ultimate goal is for the process to become so ingrained that it is automatic. A critical thought arises and is dismissed before it can even gain a foothold in your consciousness. Your mind becomes like a self-cleaning filter. This is not a fantasy. It is the result of consistent, dedicated practice over time. It is the state of the sage, the master practitioner. It is the state of true mental freedom. 59. The critic's final form, a neutral signal. What happens to the critic in the end? It does not vanish completely. It is, after all, a part of your brain's architecture. Instead, it is transformed. Its power is stripped away. Its venom is neutralized. It becomes just a signal, a notification, potential social risk detected. Energy levels are low. It is no longer a commander or even a counselor. It is a simple, unemotional data point that you, the commander, can choose to look at or ignore. It becomes a tool, not a tyrant. 60. The choice. Right now, you stand at a fork in the road. You can continue down the path you've been on, living as a subordinate to the chaotic noise in your head. Or you can choose the other path, the path of the Stoic, the path of the commander. It is a harder path. It requires discipline, awareness, and courage, but it leads to a place very few men ever reach, a state of internal fortitude, of unshakable peace, of absolute self-possession. The tool is now in your hands. The choice, as always, is yours. So there it is, the Stoic Veto. It is not a trick. It is not a temporary fix. It is the reclamation of your mental sovereignty. It is the understanding that you are the ultimate authority in your own mind. The thoughts that arise, the impressions that knock at your door, they are merely suggestions. You, and only you, hold the power of veto. This is the one mental command that separates the man who is a slave to his moods from the man who creates his own. The central takeaway from our time together is this: your inner critic only has the power you give it. Today, you have learned how to take that power back, completely and irrevocably. Feel that. The silence, the clarity, the potential. This is not some artificial state. This is your natural state, once the noise has been stripped away. This is the mind of the commander. Thank you for dedicating your time and focus to this training. It proves you are part of the small percentage of men who are serious about forging a superior inner life. If this resonated with you, subscribe and activate notifications to continue your training. Join the men who choose to build, not complain. Now I leave you with a final question for the comments. With the mental silence you are about to create, what great work will you now have the focus to build?